4 years ago, I was living in Hillsboro. I was on unemployment, and Dennis Poos said, "Can you fill in for 2 months while we shut the doors of this church?" They had just lost their senior pastor, and there were 11 people in this church left. That was it. The church used to be called Cathlamet Christian Fellowship. This church had no fellowship, and many weren't sure that it was Christian. So I started driving up on Sundays and just preaching about brokenness, saying, I got nothing to lose. This church is already dead, so first of all, I can't blow it. I can't screw this one up. I'm like, if a church is dying, it's because the people in the church are dead. So let's talk about life. Let's start talking about getting real with God. How do we change the direction of our own lives and get broken and get humble and allow God to move in you? And immediately people were like, you're right. We just needed to hear that. They decided not to kill the church. They said, maybe there's life here. We feel a heartbeat. There's a pulse. Let's give you 6 months to see if something changes. And we decided, you know what? Let's change the name because the name doesn't reflect who we are. And the bridge came to the surface, and we're on an island, and it takes a bridge to get here. And so, that was the obvious connection, but really people, what they gravitated towards was kind of this deeper meaning, because we've been talking about, we are a kingdom of priests, we are a kingdom of bridge builders, and people are like, I don't think that's who we are. But wouldn't that be awesome if that's who we would be? Are people that are bridge builders that help people connect to God. People are moving to this area and it makes no sense. Brian and Cindy Fudge, they just heard clearly, it's time to move back to Cathlamet. And both of them were like, that is the dumbest thing we've ever thought. And they started praying about it and they're like, we think God actually wants this, but there's no jobs there. This is a dead-end community. The night they came back to this community was the night that they were meeting with Dennis Poos to talk about shutting the church down. They came to that meeting and just said, well, this doesn't make any sense. We know God called us here. How can God be shutting it down? And the church survived, and he became the worship leader, and she is my backup preacher. When I need a week off, she preaches, and when she preaches, she brings the Word of God, and I love it. Several other people have, just in the last 3 months, have started coming to our church and immediately signed up to be partners with our church and said, this is it. This is my church home. I don't know why I moved here, but I have a church body that's going to pray with me and love me. But it feels like all these key people are coming here and they just keep saying, and it's almost verbatim, God's about to do a powerful movement in this community. This church had a history of every pastor they chewed up. Not the church so much as the leadership. And I just thought we need to start, as we're a redeveloping church, we need to start with a really healthy foundation. And so we had done some calling, found Terry Hippenhammer. The district helped support him financially, and so we were able to hire him. And he came out here and had several meetings with us. He spent all day with us one day, really helping the whole leadership board understand what are our roles and how do we work together. As the day continued to progress, and then as we continued to meet with Terry over the months, we're like, this is the most inspiring, life-giving stuff that our church could ever have, as we started to see how it started to flesh out and apply and give guidance and actually created conversation, and it structured all of our leadership meetings. It structured the church and really allowed us to thrive, and it's helped us to really listen to God together. And a lot of our meetings, we leave feeling like we just had a small group where we've worshiped God, we've loved God, and we've organized the church to focus on the celebration of who Christ is in our own lives as well as for the church. And I love our leader meetings, and they do too. They love it, and it's fantastic.